A very good afternoon to all of you. Welcome to class 12th economics. And we are starting a new chapter today of macroeconomics, last unit, that is balance of payment and foreign exchange. The chapter balance of payment and foreign exchange are basically two different chapters, but they are in the same unit. They are in one unit only. So balance of payment and foreign exchange, let me tell you once again that they are different chapters, but they are in the same unit. The weightage of this unit combining both the chapters, that is BOP and foreign exchange, is of almost 7 marks, but it is not individually stated that which chapter would be coming for how many marks, whether BOP would be for 7 marks, whether BOP would be of 3 marks and foreign exchange for 4 marks. So individually it is not stated, but according to the past papers it is observed that one question of 3 marks or two questions of 3 marks and one question of 1 mark comes in exam, but there can be 3 plus 4, there can be 4 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. So division can be any, right? So you have to see to it that the whole chapter weightages, whole unit weightages 7 marks, BOP as well as foreign exchange. So we are starting the chapter BOP today, that is balance of payment. As you all know that BOP, balance of payment, you all have already heard of this term in Indian economic also. If you remember when I taught you the condition of Indian economy at the time of 1991, when we basically adopted new economic policy, that is LPG, at that time our BOP was in deficit. You remember? Our BOP was in deficit. Our balance of payment was in deficit. We have studied there. But now actually we will study in deep that what is balance of payment. Balance of payment hota kya hai? Bete chapter बहुत important hai. It's highly scoring unit. 7 marks out of 40, highly scoring unit because it is very easy also. So if you just अगर आप सिर्फ ये 2-3 क्लासेस में ओवर हो जाएगा, छोटा सा चैप्टर है, आप अच्छे से पढ़ लोगे, you will definitely come to know कि it's very scoring and it's very easy also. So please everybody, all your concentration should be there in class, in these slides and listening to me, and please note down important points, take the screenshot of the screen which I'm sharing, and please concentrate here only, right? So when I talk about what is balance of payment, so let me just explain you all first of all what is balance of payment. Ki balance of payment hota kya hai? See, balance of payment is an account. It's a financial account which systematically records all the economic transactions of India which we are doing with the rest of the world. Which means, if I just have to clear it in a simple way, I would simply say balance of payment refers to, it's an account which records all the economic transactions. Economic means monetary transactions, financial transactions of one country, that is India, with the rest of the world. That means balance of payment is account, is that account where we simply say that whenever India is doing any economic or financial transactions with the other nations, with the rest of the world, then definitely we have to record all our economic transactions in one account na. We should definitely have one account where we are recording all our transactions. That is balance of payment. Usko bolte hain hum log balance of payment. So balance of payment account is simply एक ऐसा account है, balance of payment account, where we simply see that it records the economic transactions of one country with the rest of the world. That whenever India is recording all the transactions which we are doing with the rest of the world, but economic transactions, monetary transactions, the whole account is known as balance of payment account. I hope the meaning is clear. Let me tell you once again, balance of payment is an account. ये एक account है which records all financial transactions, all financial transactions which we are doing with the rest of the world, which India is doing with the rest of the world, and all these transactions are recorded at one place. इन सारी transactions को एक place पे record किया जाता है, and the account where all these transactions are recorded are known as balance of payment account, right? We all are aware of accounts. As we have studied accountancy, we all are aware of what is an account. Like we all know that in the profit and loss account, like we are making it for sole proprietor, in the profit and loss account we are writing all the expenses or expenditures and all the incomes of a sole proprietor in that account, because there are two debit and credit sides. All the incomes, all the expenditures are recorded in a particular account for the sole proprietor, that is P&L account. Then we all have trading account also, in which we are recording all the transactions, all the trading transactions which are related to factory into one account, that is trading account. Same way, BOP account is the nation's account. Balance of payment account is the nation's account, where one country, hamari country India, is recording all the economic transactions with the rest of the world under one account, and that account is balance of payment account. उस account को हम बोलते हैं balance of payment account. I hope this is clear to all. Meaning, let's move further. Now, I just explained you all the economic transactions are recorded in one account, right? So you must know that what are the economic transactions. I have divided the economic transactions into four parts. Even our country divides, our economy divides the economic transactions into four parts. The transactions related to visible items, the transactions related to invisible items, the transactions related to unilateral transfers, and the transactions related to capital transfers. So basically four types of economic transactions we are talking about that we are doing with the rest of the world. Yani ki whatever in BOP, the transactions which we are writing, our India is writing, which we are doing with the rest of the world, these are those four types of transactions that we are writing. First, we are including visible items. Visible items means, we all basically transfer goods from one country to another. For example, there is always imports and exports which take place. India might be exporting various, suppose we are exporting rice, we are exporting sugar, we are exporting suppose potatoes, we are exporting wheat, we are exporting cashews. So India might be exporting various goods to other countries. Same way, India might be importing various goods from the other countries. Like we import a lot of suppose koi bhi fruits we are importing, because we eat imported fruits, as you all know. So we are importing many fruits from other countries, we are importing petrol from other countries or any other fossil fuel from other countries. So we always have export and import transactions which are purely visible items, because we are talking about goods. We are talking about goods. So very first thing that we are writing in the BOP is the import and export of goods. Is the import and export of goods. That is the visible items. Second, invisible items. Invisible items means sometimes we export and we import the services also. I'm not talking about the goods, I'm talking about the services. Services like there can be the shipping service, there can be the insurance service, there can be the banking or finance services among two countries. So whatever transactions we are doing among two countries related to services, that comes under the invisible items or invisible transactions. Why it is called invisible transactions? इनको invisible इसलिए कहा जाता है because these transactions can never be seen crossing the borders. These transactions can never be observed or seen crossing the borders. Suppose I am getting the IT service done from other country, or other country is getting IT service done from India, like USA is getting IT service, all their IT services done from India only. So these services actually doesn't exist physically, and when they don't exist physically, they are called invisible items, but they are part of the economic transactions, because that they are going to make profit for one country and expenditure for the other country. If I am importing the, suppose any service, banking service from other country, or I'm importing insurance service from other country, when I'm importing means definitely I'm taking the service, so I have to pay for that service, right? That is the economic transactions, because one has to bear in the loss or expenditure, one has to gain particular thing. So very first thing that comes under the exchange of economic transactions among the nation is visible items, where we are talking about export and import of goods. The second thing that comes here is invisible items, where we are talking about the shipping service, banking service, insurance service. Third, we are talking about the unilateral transfers. But there are always some unilateral transfers also. Unilateral means one-sided transfers. Unilateral transfers means one-sided transfers, which includes gifts. I can give gift to my relative who is residing in Canada or who is residing in USA. Grants, maybe one government of any nation can give the grants to the other government, right? There can be personal remittances. My brother is living in Canada and he used to send me money from Canada every month. That is the remittances given to me by my brother, personal remittances. And any other way transaction, there can be the donation. Suppose due to the tragedy that happened in Kedarnath in 2013, maybe some of the countries have donated some money to India. Donation. All these transactions are unilateral transfers. All these transactions are unilateral transfers. But the question comes into mind, why they are considered in economic transactions? Bete, because they are related to money. In spite of I am not providing any factor service, but I am getting it done from the other country, doesn't mean that it is not related to money. This is related to money, because this is the transaction of two countries all together done. That is the other point, that we are not providing any factor, we are just getting or receiving the money from the other country. But that comes under economic transactions, because that is related to money. That is related to money. That's why it is called as unilateral transfers. That also comes under the economic transaction. And the fourth and last transaction that comes under the economic transactions, which can take place between two countries, is capital transfers. Capital transfers means where we are talking about capital receipts and capital payments, which we have already covered in the chapter budget. If you remember, we have covered capital receipts, that what are capital receipts and what are capital payments. Like borrowings, tell me, borrowings would be the capital receipt or capital payment? Borrowings, when I am borrowing or I am taking loan from any other country, it would be capital receipt. Of course it would be capital receipt. Why? Because it is creating my liability. And we all know that capital receipts are those receipts which either creates the liability of the government or reduces the asset of the government. अब ऐसा तो है नहीं कि borrowings के अंदर we have sold our asset, government hasn't sold their asset, but government has taken loan from others. तो कुछ transactions ये वाली भी होती हैं जो capital nature की होती हैं, which either creates the assets or liabilities of the government or reduces the asset or liability of the government. That also is the part of economic transactions. Now come again to the definition, previous definition, which we were studying, that balance of payment is an account. It is an account which provides or which records systematically all the economic transactions that take place between one country and rest of the world. कि बैलेंस ऑफ पेमेंट के अंदर वो सारी इकोनॉमिक ट्रांजैक्शंस आती हैं which takes place between one country and rest of the world. That is known as balance of payment account. And we have four major types of transactions that we write in the balance of payment account. I hope यहाँ पे अब सबको clear हो रहा है ना कौन सी major transactions है which we write in the balance of payment account. We write first visible items transactions. What we call it? We call it exports and imports of goods. But why we call it exports and import of goods as visible items? Because goods can be seen crossing the borders. Goods can be seen crossing the borders. And when we say that goods can be seen crossing the borders, in that case, definitely it will come under the visible transactions only or visible items only. Why visible items? Because these items are having physical nature, they are having their physical appearance. That is why they are in the visible items. Secondly, we have the invisible items. Invisible items means when we are talking about these services, where export and import of services is written, that is under the invisible items. फिर थर्ड कौन सी ट्रांजैक्शंस हो सकती है दोनों कंट्रीज के बीच में? यूनिलेटरल ट्रांसफर्स. यूनिलेटरल मींस वन साइडेड ट्रांसफर्स, वेयर वन पर्सन इज प्रोवाइडिंग द ट्रांसफर, where one person is providing the finance to the other person, irrespective of whether the other has given the factor or not. Suppose I have gifted some land and building to my cousin who is residing in USA. So that is my transfer given to the other country, right? That is also the part of unilateral transfer and economic transaction, because that is related to money, right? Then capital transfers. Capital transfers means the capital nature transactions, irrespective of the regular activities, the capital nature transactions, which basically involves increasing or decreasing the asset or liability of the government, right? Now see this. In accounting sense, BOP always balances. हम लोगों को पता है अकाउंट्स के अंदर लास्ट में जो अकाउंट होता है, that account has to be balanced. वो अकाउंट बैलेंस्ड होना चाहिए. The debit side items and the credit side items must be equal, and difference we all know, the difference is either the surplus or the profit, right? Or the deficit, right? Now what is the structure of BOP that we make? Let us see the structure of BOP. When we are seeing the structure of BOP, the credit items you can see are written. बेटे ये account नहीं है कि आप सोचो कि credit side left पे क्यों है, debit side right पे क्यों. It's not that. It's just the structure given of BOP. It's not that while the credit side is written on the left side and debit on the right side. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. It's given as only the structure of BOP. So take it as only as a structure. Now, if you see the credit side items of BOP, बहुत ध्यान से पढ़ना बेटे, because this is only the complete chapter. यही आपका complete chapter है. आपको पता है आप जो इसके अंदर पढ़ रहे हो यही आपका complete chapter है ultimately. यानी कि आपने जो इसके अंदर structure अगर आपने पढ़ लिया तो आपको पूरा का पूरा chapter समझ में आ जाएगा BOP का. Nothing else is required. See, credit items of BOP. Credit items means BOP is of course a nominal account. First of all, BOP is a nominal account, and we all know that what is the rule of nominal account. Accounts में पढ़ा आपने rule of nominal account. The rule of nominal account is very clear that debit all expenses and losses, credit all incomes and gains. That is of course followed in economically also in the structure of BOP account. Credit all incomes and gains, debit all expenses and losses. तो जरा यहां देखिए क्रेडिट आइटम्स कौन से हैं बीओपी के. जो क्रेडिट आइटम्स है बीओपी के उसके अंदर सबसे पहले पॉइंट में वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट एक्सपोर्ट ऑफ गुड्स. Credit items of BOP, export of goods. When we are exporting the goods to other, when I am exporting the goods to other, don't you think I am going to generate income from that? My government will have income because I am exporting the goods. I will definitely get the foreign exchange. I will definitely get the foreign exchange, which means I'll definitely get the payment done, which includes my profit also. So that will definitely come under the credit item only, because ye credit all incomes and gains na, so export of goods is a credit item. Okay, then export of service. Like goods, we have services also which we export to other countries. Like we can export the shipping service, we can export the insurance service, we can export the banking and finance service, we can export any other service. So whatever services we are also exporting to others, that also is the part of the credit item of BOP. But if the question arises why it is the credit item of BOP, because credit item means it involves profit. And when we are saying that export of service is a credit item of BOP, which means by exporting the service to other country, I would generate the income. I would have the income. And when my country would have the income, that will be written in the credit side of the BOP. So that is export of service. Third, देखिए, unilateral transfer receipts. Whatever my country is receiving, unilaterally whatever my country is receiving, definitely it will come under the credit side items of BOP only. Because if I am receiving a donation, if I am receiving some grants, if I am receiving some of the any remittances, I am receiving any of the donation, that would definitely come under the credit side item of BOP. So unilateral transfer receipts credit side में लिखा जाएगा. Then कोई भी इनकम रिसीट्स जो यूनिलेटरल ट्रांसफर की है वो भी क्रेडिट आइटम में है. देन कैपिटल रिसीट्स मींस वेयर आई एम जनरेटिंग द इनकम, I am generating the capital income. Maybe that can be due to borrowings, कुछ borrow करके, or maybe that can be due to sale of an asset. Because sale of asset भी करेंगे तो I'll have the income. Money matter करती है यहाँ पे. I'll have the income. I'll be writing it in the credit items of BOP. Then what I will write in the debit side items of BOP? Debit side item means we are talking about the expenditures. We are talking about the expenditures items of BOP, where I am paying something to foreign, where my currency is moving out of the country to foreign. What I will be writing in the debit side? Import of goods. Import of goods. Why import of goods is written in the debit side item? Of course it will be written in the debit side item only. Why? Because when I am importing the goods, suppose if I'm importing the imported fruits from USA, in that case, if I'm importing the goods from USA, it will lead to outflow of foreign exchange. Don't you think? Outflow of foreign exchange means my currency is going to be there in their nation, right? So that is the import of goods coming under the outflow of goods. So that is the debit side item of BOP. Then import of service. If I am importing the service, suppose I'm importing this finance service, or I'm importing the finance के अलावा shipping service, or I'm importing the warehousing service, or I'm importing the any other service, कोई भी service, IT service, softwares हम लोग import कर रहे हैं, definitely it will lead to debit side item because I have to pay for that. And basically in the economic sense we are writing where I'm paying, where I'm receiving. If I'm receiving the money, that is the credit side item. If I'm paying the money, that is in the debit side item. So import of service is also the part of debit side item of BOP. Then unilateral transfer payments. Again, the receipts were there on the credit side, so unilateral payment will there be on the debit side. Unilateral payments means where I am paying to outsiders. For example, I am paying personal remittances to outsiders. I am giving donations to foreigners. I am giving grants to foreigners. I am making any transfer payment to foreign. That will come under, of course, the debit side item. Income payments, debit side items. इसके अलावा capital payments. Capital payments means which will lead to make a capital payment to foreign. For example, giving or lending to abroad, which means I am giving loan to abroad. ठीक, उसके अलावा I am purchasing goods, not goods but assets from abroad. That will definitely come under the capital account transactions. ठीक, so this is the structure of BOP which you definitely have to take care of. You can just take the screenshot of this. It is the structure of BOP where we have the debit side items and we have the credit side items. The debit side items belongs to all these items where we are making payment to foreign. ध्यान से सुनना. And credit side items belongs to or involves all such items where we are receiving payment from foreign. If I'm making payment to foreign, that is the debit side item of BOP. If I'm receiving money from foreign, I'm getting income from foreign, that is the credit side items of BOP. So we have 4 transactions in BOP. I told you already in the last slide, we have 4 transactions of BOP. First, import and export of goods, which are visible items. It is also known as visible trade. ध्यान देना. It is also known as visible trade. Secondly, the import and export of services, which are invisible items, and it is also known as invisible trade. Third, unilateral transfers. Unilateral transfers means where we are talking that one-sided transfers are there. One-sided transfers means where we simply say that one-sided payment is being done or received, whether due to the donation, due to grants, due to personal remittances, due to gifts, that all comes under unilateral transfer. And fourth thing in the economic transactions which we have to record in BOP is capital transfers, which means capital payments and capital receipts. Now, just having a look at this slide only, you people tell me that where we are going to write the what we are going to write in the debit item and what we are going to write in the credit item of BOP, right? For example, first is visible item, export of goods. Export of goods, we are going to write export in the debit or credit. Very good, Nishtha, Anmol, Gurnush, Shreya and Priyanshi, Shubhangi, Anushka Kothari, Mehak, Vaibhav. Very good, everyone. We are Rajan, we are going to write it on the credit side item. Why? Because export means I'm going to generate the income, I'm going to have the income, so of course that is the credit item. Import of goods would be on the credit debit item. Import of goods, why? Because if I'm importing, which I have to pay the money, my foreign exchange, my currency would move out, so that is the debit side item. Very good, people. Now, invisible items, which means export of service, same, very good. Credit items, export of service will also be in the credit item, and import of service will be there on the debit item. Very good. Third is unilateral transfers. Now, unilateral receipts. Unilateral receipts, very good, Priyanshi, Toshit, Saksham, Harshita, Vaibhav, Anmol, Rajan, very good. Credit items of BOP, unilateral receipts, and unilateral payment will be on the debit side item. And reason हम सबको clear है. If money is moving out, outflow of money, debit item. Inflow of money, credit item. बिल्कुल simple है. Outflow of money, debit item. Inflow of money or income generated, credit item, right? Now, capital transfers, capital payments will be on the, tell me, capital payments will be on the capital payment debit side items of BOP. Very good. And capital receipts, when we are talking about, when I'm getting the capital receipts, credit side items of BOP. I hope this is clear to all of you. So this is the structure of BOP, debit side items and credit side items. One question is very important for that, where you will be given some examples, and question will ask about whether you have to just write the things, whether it will be in the debit side items or in the credit side items of BOP. All right, चलिए कल करेंगे continue. अभी related doubts kindly ask me.